Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. We are EBS, your experienced technology partner, and we've been in business for over 46 years. We specialize in the deployment of Sage Business Management and Microsoft solutions, managed services and secure on-premises and cloud-based infrastructure. My name is Darren Tolley and I am one of the account managers here. Today we're joined by our partner Draycir. Many of our clients are already seeing the benefits of utilizing Draycir software, and many of you will be familiar with Spindle document management, as a for instance. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Ross Barker, who will give us an overview of how Credit Hound Cloud helps businesses keep track of their aged debt. We are recording today's presentation and we'll make this available to you in the next few days. There are lots of recordings on our YouTube channel. Remember to hit subscribe to receive notifications when we load new videos. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or there will be an opportunity at the end of the presentation in the Q&A session. And that's enough from me. I'll pass you over to Ross. Morning, Ross.
Morning, Darren. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you everybody for your time this morning and for joining the session. As Darren mentioned, we are a partner of EBS, proud partner of that, and I'll be showing you our dedicated credit control solution this morning, known as Credit Hound. Now, some of you will be familiar with Credit Hound. We have an older version of the product known as Credit Hound Professional, but this is our newest offering, which we are adding features and functionality to all the time. Credit Hound is designed to be that dedicated solution for credit control. It's designed to strip away all of the admin burden that sits behind credit control typically, automate what we refer to as collection paths, and free up the time for your credit control teams to make those priority calls. Credit Hound can go further than just sending out email reminders and email chasers. It can manage your credit control team's diaries and tasks. And so as part of that collection path, Credit Hound can create a to-do item in Darren's diary to make that call today or tomorrow or at whatever date is specified. It is effectively a credit control CRM with every date, timestamp and audit history of all of your activity, as well as Credit Hound's activity with that particular transaction or customer. I'll take you through the software this morning. Everything should hopefully make sense by design. As I say, we have improved not only the features and functionality within Credit Hound Cloud, but also the usability. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. I will just draw your attention to the top right-hand corner, the cog specifically. Now, I won't go into all of the settings this morning, but I will just draw your attention to the email templates. These templates are there again for your usability, that you don't have to compose an email every time you communicate to a customer. If you don't want to, of course you can do if that's your preference, but it may well be easier just to select from a series of templates from a drop down. That doesn't just have to be those initial chase emails, it can also be any follow-up emails as well. Thank you for your time this morning, Darren. Please see payment link below or information relating to this call. We also have the notification icon. As I mentioned a moment ago, we are adding features and functionality to the software all the time, and we will keep you very much in the loop of those changes. By all means, feedback to us if you have any initial thoughts, questions. But again, if you would like to see that added feature in a little bit more detail, you can always reach out to Darren or myself. I would happily talk you through that. You'll also see the bell icon. Now, this depends on how you have set up Credit Hound Cloud, but you can have replies from your customers delivered within Credit Hound Cloud. So everything very much sits in one place. Honestly, we have a number of customers that choose to turn this on, a number of customers that choose to turn it off, because some do prefer to have those email replies just simply received by the normal email client, which of course they're typically working through throughout the working day. So that's a little bit of housekeeping. Now, I'm into the UK demo company data this morning. If you do have multi-companies, multi-entity, don't worry. You can simply toggle between company 1, 2, 3, 4, sister business A, B, C, whatever that looks like. The dashboard is then a consolidated view of all of the information that relates to that particular customer account. And again, hopefully this should all make sense, but I'll whiz through them very quickly. Those tiles at the very top are a summary of your total debt and where that sits within these 4 categories: not due, overdue, disputed, and non-allocated. And I can click through to any one of these tiles, which will pull through a list of all of those transactions that make up that particular balance. If I'm looking for something specific, I can use my quick access tiles. So I might be looking for one of those outstanding invoices that are in dispute, that I've already got a call against them, and maybe that I've already had a promise to make payment against them. 3 clicks of the mouse and I'm already there. You'll also see those icons here. You possibly won't be able to see them from the recording screen, but the exclamation mark is a dispute. The little telephone icon is a call, and then the handshake icon is a promise. But very, very easy to navigate what it is you're looking for. If you'd rather search by customer name, I could type in FE, it will pull through Festival Homes, and I can see all of my outstanding transactions for Festival Homes. But I can also sort and filter on these columns, look for whatever I need by clicking on the relevant column in question. Where is my money are the same 4 categories. So you might well be thinking this is a little bit of repetition, but actually if I click through to the overdue column this time, or category rather this time, it will actually now pull through, rather than lists of transactions, it will pull through a list of customers. And so I can see an overview of my customer accounts. And again, if I've got my filters included here, I could be looking for Festival Homes. It will pull through Festival Homes quickly without me having to type out the full customer name, but I can also sort and filter on those columns in question. I might well be filtering by overdue amount. I could be filtering by balance, credit limits, whatever I'm looking to achieve. You can export this information to Excel if you want to. So if the familiarity is there for you with your calculations and formulas, of course, by all means, do that. But as you see here, by me selecting these 5 customer accounts, it will update those selected totals at the bottom. So if you are doing any kind of account analysis within Credit Hound, you're not having to do those calculations yourself. There is some further functionality in the customer screen, but I will come back to that in a few moments' time. Your mini-age receivables, your mini-age debt. Likewise with all of my invoices and customers, I can also access that full list from the ribbon at the top, as you can see here. This is very simply designed to be a quick snapshot into what my mini-age debt, my mini-age receivables looks like by way of collection bucket or period, 30, 60, 91 days in my example. Who has my money? I often refer to a bit like a rogues gallery. Because these are your top 8 accounts in terms of that outstanding debt. So although Credit Hound is automating all of your email chases and reminders, Credit Hound is managing your tasks and your diary entries and your, the calls that you need to make, you still might want to keep a slightly closer eye on these accounts, as they do attribute the majority of your overdue debt. Who has paid me in the last 7 days is more useful for those customers that have maybe more than one credit controller, maybe groups, teams of credit controllers that maybe don't have access to that finance system, Sage 200, Sage Intact, Sage 50, for example. Because they don't necessarily have that account, they wouldn't have necessarily seen those monies come into the accounts. And so actually I can see that a payment was made yesterday by Kitchens for All. And if that's an account that I happen to manage or have been speaking to, I can see from the dashboard that that payment has been made. I can, of course, see that against the customer account, but I'll show you that in a few minutes' time. And finally, we can't chase this amount. This is one of the newer features within the software. And effectively, it gives you the opportunity to cleanse your data. Really useful when you start using Credit Hound Cloud, because you can see whether you've got valid email addresses and contact details for your customers. We can have Credit Hound send out 1 million reminders by email or 1 million chase emails. But if we haven't got the relevant contact details, of course, we can't reach that target. And again, in this case, we can see here that we have 25 customers without a valid email address. And unfortunately for me, that attributes to almost £1 million worth of debt. So that's £1 million that I can't currently chase successfully. So that is the dashboard in a nutshell. I'll trust there's been no questions so far, Darren, unless you jump in and let me know, and we'll move forward.
Nope, no questions so far.
Perfect. Sounds like I'm making sense. Always a good start. So again, I'll just whiz through the invoices, customers, and age receivables tabs because we've kind of had that snapshot from the dashboard. And I really want to show you the collection paths, the tasks, the promises, effectively how Credit Hound earns its money for you. So again, if I click through to my invoices tab here, I'll unselect outstanding this time, and you see I've got a mixture in here of those invoices that are not yet due, those that aren't due. If I was to click into my all invoices and select not due, if there are any next actions that Credit Hound is due to perform, you will see them here. And by default, because these invoices are not yet due, that almost means they're part of that early stage of my collection path, the reminders more so than the chases. And I can see here that Credit Hound is due to send an email out in a couple of days' time, and obviously into next week, and so on and so forth. Okay. My customers screen. Although we've looked at this very, very briefly, and I mentioned if you were then doing any kind of account analysis, it will update those selected totals at the bottom. You can, of course, export that information if you wish, add your filters if you're looking for some customers specifically. A new feature that we just rolled out for Sage Intacct, but this is coming for the other ERPs that we have Credit Hound Cloud available for, is the ability to pull through some custom fields and additional fields of information. So it might prove useful for you to also see who the salesperson is that relates to that particular customer, or the credit controller, for example. Pull through as many columns as you need in here. If I was to pull through the salesperson, it might be that I manage all of the accounts that salesperson Angela Robson looks after. Darren, it's for E&D, and so on and so forth. Or it might be, again, that you're doing some account analysis, and it'd be useful for you to see actually all of Angela's accounts and how they are performing. Is there a problem that we are seeing for the accounts that Angela is selling to? Is there a problem with those overdue amounts, for example? Can Angela assist us in that process with contacting those customers, for example? It might also be that you wish to change the collection path for some of these customers. So if I was to search for Angela, for example, again, now that's going to pull through all of those customers that actually are assigned to Angela Robson. Well, I can then select all from here, and I could actually then change their collection path. And I'll explain the collection paths in a moment, and that'll make a little bit more sense. But again, I could do that with a couple of clicks of the mouse as and when you need to tweak that. Your age receivables will mimic your age receivables report, your age debtor report that many, many customers I speak to simply work through throughout the working day. They'll often filter that report with the greatest outstanding debt at the top, and they'll work their way down their list. But of course, that age debt report, that age receivables report, is out of date pretty much the minute it's run. And of course, then you've got all these notes in an Excel spreadsheet, typically, no date and timestamps for all of your activity. Within Credit Hound Cloud, of course, we have that separated because we have all of the order history with the collection paths anyway. Okay, so let's get to those collection paths. A collection path is quite simply how you wish to collect your monies from your customers. And you can configure these however you want to. So it might be that for your preferred collection path, you would like to send a friendly reminder, maybe 7 days before the due date. Dear Darren, please be aware you have an invoice due in the next 5 days, or in the next 7 days, or in the next 14 days. Just a friendly reminder, so we're hopefully getting ahead of the curve. If that transaction gets to 5 days overdue, you then might want Credit Hound to send the email. Dear Darren, we can see payment has not yet been made. This is now 5 days overdue. Please make prompt payment. If that email was then ignored, it might get to 10 days overdue, at which point you don't want another email sent. We'd actually like a task adding to Darren's diary, because that's a call now that we need to really jump on before this one gets out of hand. And you can have as many collection paths as you need and assign your customers to the relevant collection path. So you might have a key accounts collection path. That might be something like Amazon, for example, or a Tesco, or maybe some of those big corporate businesses, which you wouldn't really chase maybe after 1 day or after 5 days. You might have them on extended payment terms, and as such, you wouldn't chase them until maybe 30 days or maybe 60 days, whatever process you have. You might have some high risk accounts. These are maybe new to your business, or you've had payment problems with them in the past. So let's put them in a different collection path. And we really want to be on top of these. We want to send them friendly reminders. We want to send them overdue emails, chase emails after 1 day, after 5 days, after 10 days, after 15, so we can really keep on top of that. But you can create those collection paths however you want to. And wherever those transactions sit, as soon as they hit one of those triggers, Credit Hound will perform an action for you. It doesn't discriminate whether those transactions are worth £10, £110 or £110,000. It will communicate to them wherever they sit within that chase cycle. What that means, of course, is that you can come into Credit Hound in the morning knowing that Credit Hound has already sent out all of those emails, reminders and chase wherever those transactions sit, and it's freed up all of your time from that admin burden, allowing you to focus on those tasks that you have, which is typically calling those customers, investigating why payment potentially has become overdue. Let me just set up a collection path for you though very, very quickly to show you how easy this is. So if I just call this one Ross this morning, I don't need to give it a description, but of course you can if you've got multiple. Now you might want to only chase Monday through Thursday because actually you've found that if customers are going to have time out of the office, it's more likely to be a Friday than maybe a Wednesday. So we don't want to, lose that email in all of the others that they get that day. And you might have spoken to your marketing team and they say, well, actually the best time to engage with people by email would be at 10:30 in the morning. How much does the minimum balance need to be for you to chase? Well, actually, if it's less than £1, I don't want to chase it. Or it might be what the outstanding amount is. So let's say the invoice was worth £100. For whatever reason, your customers paid you £99.50. Because it's only 50 pence or less than £1 on the outstanding amount, we won't chase that one. So you're not chasing pence in the pound, potentially. Exclude transactions with an active promise to pay. Well, I'll click this box because if I have spoken to a customer, they have promised me payment next week, I don't want Credit Hound to chase them as well. That might be a bit of overkill. You might sour that relationship slightly, particularly if the customer has already engaged with you and made that promise to pay. But again, that's really up to you. Let's add that first action. So in this case, we will send an email. We'll just send that first email here. We'll send it 5 days before the due date. We'll select one of those templates that I went through at the very beginning. In this case, it'll be a preemptive reminder letter. I'm sending this email to remind you you have outstanding invoices due. Now, where you see that sky blue backdrop, that is dynamic data that's pulled directly through from your ERP, so it can reference specifically contact names, transaction types, reference, etc., etc. We can include our pay now buttons and payment links. So if you do make payments, or should I say accept payments by debit or credit card, then of course we can really grease the wheels of that process as well. Let's add that action. That's the first stage done for us. Now, not everybody will adhere to that reminder. So let's catch the second email at 5 days overdue. So this time it's 5 days after the due date, or 6 days there. Let's change that to 5. We'll select one of our templates. This time we'll use our friendly overdue template. Again, let's just double check all is okay. And we'll add that action. You're probably thinking, well, why is one green, one red? Because any green actions are before that due date. Any red actions are after the due date. Now, you might not want this to be a drawn out collection path of lots of different emails. So actually, let's just create a task in here instead, okay? So let's call this one first call, and we'll make this one, we'll go with 10 days after the due date, okay? And you can select who that's for. I could select that for myself or my colleague if needs be. Give it some information, details around that call, what it consists of and why that call is in my diary if that's needed. Auto complete this task. It's a simple radio button on or off. That simply means that if payment is already made, then the task is removed from my diary. So if payment was in this case made on the 8th or the 9th day, this task will automatically be removed from my diary. Okay, so just the 3 stages. If I was to click save, you'll now see that I've got an additional collection path in our list. This one is for Ross, and let me just enable that. Now, if I just very quickly go back to my customer screen here, and this time let's pull through the credit controllers field of information. There's our credit controller. Now let's search for Ross. There's all of the accounts that Credit Controller Ross manages. Let's select them in its entirety, and we'll change their collection path from collection path 1, high risk or key accounts, to Ross. Are you sure you want to change this? Yes, I do. And now all of those customers, as you can see here, are on the specific collection path that we've just chased for them. And of course, we can edit that whenever we need to, if we need to, but really, really straightforward, as you can see. So hopefully that makes sense, and you can see the value in those collection paths and how much time it would save you, because ultimately then it really is a case of just you coming into Credit Hound and going through your tasks, and whether they are auto-generated tasks because Credit Hound has found the transaction that has hit a trigger and created a task for you, or whether they are tasks you've created yourself. Follow up with Darren this morning to discuss his account, or it might be some uncompleted tasks from yesterday. As you can see here, I've got 3 calls to go through this morning, but I do have 3 calls to catch up on from yesterday. I could also see those scheduled emails that are due to go out today. Just the one today, as we can see here, 1 email due for this customer. It is actually part of my friendly overdue email, and I can see that we're chasing £4,000 that's overdue. And again, you can toggle between the days, and you can see any additional emails that are going out. Again, just the one tomorrow. If we've got anything for early next week, see if there's a few more in there. Yeah, quite a few more next Monday. 103 emails due to be sent next Monday. But again, I can see clearly here, so if I happen to have missed it from the dashboard, I can see I've got a slight issue with this customer and this one, because I don't currently have email addresses for those customers. So in advance of those emails going out next week, I'd probably want to put a quick call in to head office and get an updated email for the accounts team, for example. So very, very straightforward. Whilst I'm here, I'll talk you through the promises tab just briefly, and then I'll create a promise for you. I'll put myself in those credit controller's shoes. But the promises tab is effectively full list breakdown of all of those promises that you have taken as a credit controller. I've spoken to Darren. Darren has promised to make me a payment of £10,000 next week. Once I've logged that, it's logged within my promises tab. And again, I can use my quick access tiles to filter through those types of promise that I might well be looking for. Okay, but let's create one of those promises now. Just before I go into the customer account, has there been any further questions at all come through, Darren, or are we okay to proceed?
No, all fine.
All okay.
Doing a good job.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I'll click through to the Festival Homes account from the main dashboard. Of course, I could have got to the Festival Homes account from anywhere, as we've seen already. But I'm now in the customer screen, and so I've got full visibility of everything I'm likely to need before I speak to this customer. Now, you see those same tabs of information that we saw from the dashboard: overdue, disputes, balance, credit limits, etc. I've got my contact information here. I've also got my outstanding transactions that we can see in this box here. Now, unsurprisingly, those in green are not yet due. Those in red are overdue. Those in amber are disputed. I've then got a full activity audit on the right-hand side. So you can find every activity, not only that you have performed, but also Credit Hound has performed for you. And you might be thinking, well, that's a little bit of a needle in a haystack for us to go through all of that. Well, if we were to just select the individual transaction from down here, of course, it will filter the activity on that individual transaction down here. But let's attempt to make a call to Maureen Duffy at Festival Homes about this transaction just here. So let's select that transaction in question. Now, if I was to speak to Maureen and Maureen was to turn around and say, well, we've not heard from you about that one, you could push back, because you can quite clearly see here that an automatic chase email was sent on this date and time. Okay, so you have got the audit history, the date and time stamp of the activity that Credit Hound has performed automatically, not just the updates that you're making. But let's see if we can speak to Maureen. Now, you've got some other options here, of course. I can take them out of auto chasing. I can add a dispute if Maureen is choosing to dispute that. I can send an email if I can't get through. I could add a note. Maureen was not in, call back tomorrow, or whatever those notes need to be. Or we can try and call through. Now, let's say we're successful and we manage to get through to Maureen Duffy. Now, of course, if there's multiple contacts on the customer side, of course, select who you've spoken to. What was the reason for that invoice being overdue? And as you can see here, we have got a number of different reasons. We can add further reasons there should you get any kind of weird and wonderful ones that you kind of see come through quite common. If we just say in this case that the invoice not found, okay, so you can put whatever notes you want to in here, be as detailed as you want to. Again, whatever kind of notes that you do need to keep for your reference point, include them here, okay. Would you like to create a promise to pay? So I would, because this is outstanding. Maureen has promised to make payment. If I select tomorrow, it's in my calendar tomorrow. If I select next week, it goes in on this date next week. But of course, I can select a specific date if that's a date that I'm talking to the customer about. So if I was to select March the 18th, if there is a cash flow issue on your customer's side and you do accept part payment, I could create two promises. So I could create a promise for £6,640 next week, and then the remaining 10,000 the week after, or whatever breakdown that you accept. Again, it's just a case of creating multiple promises if you wanted to do so. Where do you expect that payment, or how do you expect that payment to be made? And the reason that's there is just to give you a heads up, because of course you might receive different payment in different accounts. So if you're really keeping on top of that, you can kind of look into one account rather than the other, save you a little bit of time. It was promised to me. Now, would I like to also create a follow-up task? Well, in this case, I will, because I'm unsure that Maureen is going to make that payment. Again, put some notes in there if you want to. You don't have to. But I'll follow up on March the 18th, that date. So although it's been promised to me by that date, I can then have a task in my diary for the date in question, should that payment not be made. I know I can do that because auto-complete this task. Remember that feature from a few minutes ago. So even though I'm creating a task now, if Maureen is to make payment, the task is automatically removed from my diary anyway. So it's not there should that payment be made and that promise adhered to. If we've spoken to the customer everything we need to, then I can just preview our actions today. Invoice not found test. Of course, you can put whatever you want to in there by way of your notes. Promised to pay on the 18th of March. It's the full amount. It's promised to me we expect that payment to be made by card. There's the task that I've scheduled as well, and I can simply click save. It's literally as easy as that to log your activity. Credit Hound's actually going to ask me if it'd like to send an email now, just to follow up with that. Thanks for your time, Darren. Thanks for your time, Maureen. You made a promise to pay. We expect payment within the next week. Whatever that kind of follow-up email needs to look like. I won't, because I'll send another one in a moment. But you can now see the activity log for this transaction has been updated. Now we've got a call logged. Now we've got a promise to pay created. Now we've also got those little icons here. So once you get your feet under the table with Credit Hound, you'll be on the lookout for these icons all the time. Now, if I was to click into my promises tab, I can also see the promise that's been made to me for next week. And again, £16,640 due on March the 18th in 6-day time. Is currently open and it's currently unpaid. As you would expect, we've literally only just spoken to the customer. Now, you might be looking at that and think, well, why do I need to know if a payment has been made but the promise was broken? Well, of course, this is really useful if you're operating to any kind of cash collection targets or forecasting cash flow, because that might be some information that you need to present to your finance director, to the board, or maybe just some review internally. Well, I can see that we've currently got £52,000 in promised payments. That's great. The credit control team are really working to get those payments received. but you might approach that with caution ahead of a board meeting or speaking to your finance director, because you can see here that we've actually got some promised payments from Festival Homes, who notoriously on the last 2 occasions have broken that promise. So although they have made a payment, we can see unfortunately they've not adhered to that time scale. So again, you might just want to approach that kind of cautiously, or it might just give you the opportunity to say to the customer, next time a promise is made, actually we won't be accepting that promise. We will be putting your account on stop until you've cleared some of your balance, because although you've given us that promise in the past, you haven't actually adhered to them. Okay, so you've got full visibility of that. So you won't always get through to a customer, obviously. So it may just be that you want to add a note, or maybe even send them an email. And so let's select the email. So we've got another transaction down here, 31 days overdue. Let's send an email through to, in this case, Maureen Duffy. Now, you might want to select one of your templates. Of course, you can have multiple templates that you can select from. You might just want to compose that email yourself, and if that's the case, you can pull through transaction tables, add pay now buttons, add your signatures, etc. as well. But you can use our AI assistant if that was something of interest. So it might just be that this is 50 days overdue. Just write a final notice for us and let the software compose that email for you. You might immediately look at that and say, actually, that's a bit wordy. Let's make it more assertive. Let's make it, a little bit more straight to the point. And if that's okay for you, then fantastic. It might actually be that all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Maureen has said that she'd like to be communicated to in French. Or actually, if you've got customers on the continent, of course, I'm not very good with a foreign language, so I could actually ask the software to compose that for me. And if that was the case, again, I could have that communication sent out in the relevant language for us. And that's how easy it is to communicate to your customers in question. Now, I did send out an email just before we jumped on the session this morning, March the 12th, as you can see here. I can just open up that activity and I can see that the email was sent at this date and time, that it was processed. It was sent by me. I've got multiple transactions that I'd selected. I've got a pay now button in here, as you can see. I can do that for multiple transactions if I've selected them. And if you do take payment by debit or credit card, of course, I can open up that payment window where I can proceed to making payment. If you give your customers the opportunity to edit the amounts within those invoices, of course they can do, or your customer might look at this and say, cash is tight this week, I'll just pay that top one and I'll come back to the second one in a few days' time or next week, if that's something that you are allowing your customers to do. But in a nutshell, that is Credit Hound Cloud. Just very quickly to show you that task that Credit Hound automatically popped in my diary for next week. I think it was on the was it on the 18th? I think it was for next week, which of course was the follow-up call for Maureen Duffy, which is this one just here, and that relates to the call that we have made this morning. Invoice not found test promised to me. And that's the task, and that's how we can easily use Credit Hound to manage my diary. Of course, if I didn't need it, I could edit it. I could add further details to it. If it turns out I'm not going to be in the office that day, or I've got some leave, then I could reassign that to my colleague just to complete my task whilst I'm not there. If you are interested in taking payments by debit or credit card, as I mentioned a moment ago, we can have those pay now buttons, those payment links included in those emails. Once that payment button or payment link is clicked upon, your customer will be able to make payment by debit or credit card. That is a different service to what we've seen this morning, Credit Hound Cloud. That's known as Pay Them, which is our pay now buttons, payment links, our additional piece of software. But by utilizing Pay Them, you would also get access to the Pay Them portal, which looks something a little bit like this. In fact, a lot like this, because this is the Pay Them portal. But that dashboard screen that you see here will just give you a summary of those most recent payments. Whoever your payment processor is, you can have multiple. Our preferred payment processor is Nuvei, certainly mine. There are a number of options on the left-hand side, as you can see here. I won't necessarily go into those user settings this morning, of course, but suffice to say you can have multiple payment processors if needed. If you are sending out invoices in USD, in Euro, in GBP, you might get different and better rates with different payment providers. But I can see all of those payment requests that have been sent out, including the one from this morning at 10:41 and 10:29. You've got full visibility of all of the information that sits behind that Pay Now button. And if I just look at the payment request for Festival Homes, here's all the information that relates to the account information. I've got auto expiration dates for 3 months, as you can see here. There are currently 2 transactions that form part of that payment request because I selected 2 invoices to chase, and you can see both of them just here. You've also got access to the payment link here. You can copy and resend that if needs be, or if you were to get a call in a few days' time and you needed to resend that through secure email, or you can simply click on that payment link from the portal yourself. So you've got full visibility of all of that. If I was to click into the previous transaction to look at one with a single example in there, I've given the ability to make an edit on that payment. As you can see, the actual invoice is worth £9,526, but the outstanding amount is £9,000. Now, again, subject to you giving your customers permission to edit those amounts, I can simply select that I've only got £5,000 that I can, £1,000 that I can make a payment for today. So because I've made payment previously, I can select my card details. They, of course, are secured, securely stored. I'll make that payment for £1,000. As a customer, I can then see I've got my payment transaction reference for my personal records. If I click back into the portal, you can see that a payment request is part complete, and I can also see that payment reference from the 12th of March at 11:37. Time check on my machine in the bottom right hand corner there, so we can see there's no smoke and mirrors. You'll also see that update from the main dashboard because of course all of that information is live, and I could also see that payment transaction reference included in all of my other payment transaction references here. So when I'm reconciling those payments within my ERP, I've got all of that information. What that might mean is that if you are wanting to accept more orders, you can see that that payment has been made. That's freed up some space in terms of the credit limit of that customer. You'd be willing to accept further orders, even though those monies are in transit from your payment processor. But that, in a nutshell, is Credit Hound Cloud with Pay Them. I think that's me covered everything, Darren. Any other questions? I say any other questions. Any questions that have come through at all this morning?
Yeah. So in terms of deployment, how quickly can it? How quickly could I start using this?
Very, very quickly. Actually, we do provide you the opportunity to access our demo data, so you have that confidence that you can't break anything. Not that you'd be breaking anything anyway. You're just connecting it to your live Sage data. It's really a case of adding your users, connecting to your ERP, obviously, adding your users. There are a few company settings that you will need to configure, and then having your emails. And again, once that's connected, you are pretty much off and running. It does come with a built-in using Credit Hound option, as you can see here. This is a simple walkthrough of the software, so it's almost ticking off those chapters once you've been shown how to use that. And hopefully, as we've shown you this morning, it's really very user-friendly. It's pretty idiot-proof, and that's me saying that. If I can use it, I think anybody can. But we can provide training on that as well if needed. But you could be up and running on this literally within a couple of hours, half a day. You could be up and running and using it very, 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 very easily.
We work with Sage 50 and Sage 200. So which other account software does this work with?
So in the Sage world, Credit Hound Cloud also works with Sage Intacct. So 50, 200 and Intacct for Credit Hound Cloud. It also is compatible with a number of other ERPs. But yeah, in the Sage world, Sage 50, 200 and Intact.
Okay. And you talked about some new features that are being added in terms of the columns, so you can add in some analysis codes, I think.
That's right.
I presume, well, should I presume, but I presume because it's a cloud-based application and any new features go into the software automatically, is that right?
You are exactly right, Darren. Yeah, and the notification icon, excuse me, in the top right-hand corner will keep you abreast of any new additions, features and functionality. So yeah, they will be rolled out automatically for you. As you can see here, our recent addition is that customer fields column. It has been launched for Intact. The next one off the track is for 200, which I'm told is literally a matter of days away, 50 and then the other ERPs. So yeah, absolutely. Sneak peek for you, but as of March the 12th, the next feature to come for the solution is consolidated chasing and statements, which is a request that we've had from a number of customers, so we can be quite agile and get those requests rolled out relatively quickly. So yeah, that's the next one off the production line.
Perfect. Last one in terms of the question that we've got here is licensing. I mean, I could probably answer this one myself, but
Sure.
Simple licensing, you can either pay monthly or on an annual basis. You buy one user and then you can buy additional users at a lesser cost.
Correct. Yeah. And you could also buy additional companies if needed. So if you are a business, with multi-entities, sister business ABC, like you said, Darren, you can buy those additional users, but you can also buy those additional company licenses as well. So yeah.
Perfect. I think that's it. Well, thanks very much for doing that. It's always a pleasure. And I mean, compared to Credit Hound Professional, which is a fantastic product, but this is so much simpler, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Credit Hound Professional, just for context, for those on the call, is a long-standing product of ours. 18 years old. Of course, we've added features and functionalities to that all the time, but it's a very robust product. And what we've been able to do with Credit Hound Cloud, as hopefully Darren will vouch for, is very much cherry pick the best bits out of that. We've dramatically improved the UI for that, and obviously the setup time is very, very easy. With Credit Hound Professional, you can chase at a much more granular level, but that does require consultancy to set up all of those collection paths and all of the other bits and pieces. You can be connected and up and running with this within a matter of a couple of hours. With Credit Hound Professional, you're looking at least probably 3 days. So yeah, to your point, Darren, very easy to use, but very, very easy to set up, and slick and modern to boot.
Fabulous. So the other thing to say is that if you need more information or you'd like a one-to-one demonstration, then that can be arranged for you. Just speak to myself or one of the other account managers here at EBS. With that said, again, thank you, Ross, for doing that today. And thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember to check out our YouTube channel. We'll send out this video in the next few days. And thank you again.
Thanks all.